Lesson 2-4, solving equations with variable on each side. Our essential question is, how do you solve a multi-step equation? We have quite a few steps here for you, some of which will be a review, and some of them are new. We're going to have a lot of different steps to keep track of now, so it's pretty important that you get used to the order, kind of like working with PEMDAS. Our first step, step 1, says distribute when you see parentheses. So similar to PEMDAS, start with the parentheses. Different, however, we have to distribute. So distribute whatever's in front of the parentheses, which of course means multiplying. Then the second step that we're going to work with says combine same side like terms by adding or subtracting. We know how to work with like terms from chapter 1, so we're just asking you, after you're done distributing, to look at each side of your equation and see if you can do anything to simplify each side, okay? Sometimes there won't be anything to do for that step. Then the third step, this is what we worked with on day 1 of this lesson. Get the variables on one side. So eliminate one of your variables, add or subtract, so that you've only got one variable left in your problem. And then you will have a 1 or 2 step equation left after that point, and you'll know how to solve it. It will look more familiar to you. So the new steps here. First step, distribute when you see parentheses. Second step, combine same side like terms. Then the third step is to get your variables on one side. And then it's going to look on the fourth step like something that you've worked with before in one of the first sections in this chapter. It'll be your 1 or 2 step equation. Each equation is a little bit different, and you'll see that on the following examples. Okay, solve this equation. First up, I see parentheses. So I'm going to have to distribute here. So I'm going to take my -2 and I am going to distribute it to everything in the parentheses. That means multiplying, because a number right next to a parenthesis is multiplied. -2 times 3x is -6x. -2 times -6 is +12. Now it's a 2-step equation. So to solve this 2-step equation, my married couple is the -6x, so I need to subtract 12 to get rid of that third wheel, plus 12. Now I have -6x equals, be careful, -12 minus 12 more is -24. So they're both negatives, a -12 minus 12. Some of you might need to look at it side by side and maybe do like a tick-tock, add the opposite, however you learned how to work with your integers. It's the same as -12 plus -12. Then my last step, I divide by the -6 to get the x by itself, and my solution is +4. +4. You could plug it in and check to make sure that it works. And replace the x with 4. So right here, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. Multiply by -2, and you get -12. Example number 2. We've got a lot of parentheses going on here. So distribute, distribute, and on this side, distribute. So I would get 5x plus 5 on the left-hand side, and -2x plus 12 on the right-hand side, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So, first step, distribute. Second step, combine any like terms if they're on the same side. I don't have any like terms that are on the same side. Not on the left, not on the right. So I'm going to move on to the third step. I need to get my variables on one side. I prefer, when I have variable on each side, to eliminate the smaller one. So the smaller one would be -2x. So I would like to add 2x to that, because +2 and -2 are opposites, they'll cancel out. Then the result is 7x plus 5 equals 12. Now it's a 2-step equation, the most common type. Subtract the 5, and 7x equals 7. divide by 7, and finally I've got my solution, x equals 1. Could plug it in and make sure that it works over here. 1 plus 1 is 2, 5 times 2 is 10, and on the other side, 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Negative 2 times negative 5 is also 10, so it checks. Remember, when you're taking the test and taking the quiz for this chapter, it's a great idea to do those checks, but they're not required on your homework. Now we've got some like terms. I don't see any parentheses, so I don't have to do the distributing step, but I've got like terms over here on my left-hand side, and they're both positives. 6x and 2x, if I combine them, I will get 8x, plus the 4 that was over here, and it equals negative 20. Now it's a two-step equation that looks pretty familiar, so subtract that 4, cancel it out. So 8x equals negative 20 minus 4 more is negative 24. Then I can divide by my 8, divide by my 8. So x equals negative 3 is my solution. Another one with like terms. This one, be careful because there are minuses in front of these like terms. So when you combine them, negative 4x minus 2x is negative 6x. Then I've got a minus 1 on the same side with it because it started out with negative 1. Now I've got my married couple third wheel, so add 1 to get rid of that third wheel. So negative 6x equals negative 54. Divide by negative 6. And x is equal to 9. Now my favorite kind of problems. Find the value for x that's going to make the perimeter of each figure equal. Perimeter! You should remember learning about the perimeter last year or the year before. It means the distance around a figure. So if you walk all the way around something, that is your perimeter. So the distance around, so we're saying that that the value for x that makes the perimeter of each figure equal. So the perimeter of each figure. So I've got my fantastic triangle, and I've got x plus 1, 3x plus 5, and then x plus 1. So if I add all of those together, I will get the perimeter of my triangle. So 1, 2, 3 sides all added together. So my like terms, 3x, 1x, and another 1x. Remember, you can put 1s in front of those. So I have 5x, and then I've got plus 5, plus 1, plus 1. So 5x plus 7, that's the perimeter of that triangle. Okay, now the perimeter of each figure has to be equal. My other figure is this rectangle, and it says x plus 4 and 3x minus 5. Well, I'm sure you all remember that opposite sides are equal in a rectangle. So I've got another x plus 4 and another 3x minus 5. Just because they didn't write it in, it doesn't mean that there's only 2 sides on that rectangle. They're expecting you to know, I'm going to put my 1s in here, they're expecting you to know that the opposite sides are equal. So now, I've got a lot to write over here. So I've got x plus 4, then I've got another 3x minus 5, and another x plus 4. Some of you may think of a shortcut instead of writing all of this out, and that's fine with me. So my like terms, 3x, 1x, 3x, 1x. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8x. Then I've got minus 5. Oh, negative 5 plus 4, negative 5 plus 4, so negative 10 plus 6, let's see, plus 8. So this is going to be negative 2. So negative 5 plus 4, that would be negative 1. minus 5 is negative 6 plus 4, negative 2. Perfect. Okay, now I'm not done. I found the perimeter of each one, but guess what? They said that the perimeter had to be equal. So I am going to need a little bit more room here because now I need to set my two expressions equal to each other. So the triangle perimeter has to equal the rectangle perimeter. So we need to solve this equation, and that's going to give us the value for x. So I've got 5x on the left, 8x on the right. I am going to eliminate the 5x because it is smaller. So I'm subtracting it. So 7 equals 3x minus 2. Now it's a two-step equation. Married couple, third wheel. Add that 2. 9 equals 3x. Divide by my 3. And 3 equals x. Final answer. You could plug it in over here and make sure that it works. 3 plus 4 would give me a 7 here, 7 here. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 5 is 4, and a 4. So that perimeter is 22. If I put in a 3 here, then this side is 4. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 5 is 14. 3 plus 1 is 4. 14 plus 4 plus 4. Perimeter, 22. Perfect. So x equals 3. The last problem, yep, the last one. Now we need the area to be the same. The area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So that means, using my triangle picture over there, the base is on the bottom, so x plus 4 is my base, times my height is 4, divided by 2. So, I know in simplifying this that I can divide 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then I can distribute that 2, so I get 2x plus 8 units squared for the area of my triangle. Now the area of a rectangle is just base times height, so the base is 6, the height is x, so it's just 6x units squared. So, reading the problem, they have to have the same area. So that means that I need to set 2x plus 8 equal to 6x, and then solve to see what value would give them equal areas. Now, I've got a variable on each side. The 6x is all alone though, so I'm going to leave it. So I am going to subtract the 2x from both sides. So 8 equals 4x, divide by 4, and 2 equals x. So I believe that when x is equal to 2, my areas will be the same. So 2 plus 4, so this side is 6. So then the area of this triangle would be 6 times 4 divided by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12 units squared. Okay, now x was 2, so that means that this side over here is 2. The area of a rectangle is just base times height, so 6 times 2, 12 units squared. So the correct answer is 2. Now, please, when you're working on your homework, do not skip these two problems. If you have problems that are asking you about the perimeter or asking you about the area, and they're saying that they need to have the same perimeter or same area, go back to your notes, look at these two examples, and please make sure that you try these homework problems. More than likely, I think you'll see something like one of these on your test. So do not give up. Make sure that you're up for the challenge. Now, it's time to write a summary to solve a multi-step equation. Remember, there were a lot of different kinds of multi-step equations. So write a couple of sentences to explain how you solve them. And here are your homework problems. They jump around quite a bit, but they're all good.